Throughout human history, over 200 million people have endured the terror of some of the world's deadliest pandemics. These diseases swept across continents, traveling on trade routes and ships, sparing no one, from kings in their castles to peasants in their fields. Victims suffered through horrifying symptoms: raging fevers, unstoppable diarrhea, oozing sores, and in the worst cases, complete organ failure. For many, it ended in agony. For the lucky few who survived, life carried on, but always under the shadow of death. This is what it was truly like to live through history's most devastating pandemics. Quick thing before we dive in. If you enjoy stories like this, hit like or subscribe. It really helps. And tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is right now. Last week, someone from Iceland commented, and I had to Google what time zone that even was. It's always wild to see people tuning in from all over the world. All right, tonight we're diving into historic pandemics. But first, get comfortable. And I mean properly comfortable. Adjust your pillows, pull up that blanket. This one's going to get intense. Your eyes snap open. It's still dark, but something is very wrong. The straw mattress beneath you is damp with sweat. Your skin feels like it's on fire, yet you're shivering so violently, your teeth chatter. Your throat is raw, like you've been swallowing shards of broken pottery. This isn't a normal fever. Athens, 430 BCE. The Peloponnesian War rages outside the city walls, but now a different kind of enemy has breached the defenses. One you can't fight with swords or shields. Water. You croak, but the word comes out as nothing more than a rasp. Your tongue feels swollen, heavy, filling your mouth like a stone. Back home, you'd have a cool glass of clean water at your bedside. Here, you're lucky if anyone brings you a chipped clay cup filled with lukewarm water that's been sitting out all night. Honestly, you might not even get that, because the person who was supposed to care for you might already be dead. Your head pounds, each heartbeat thundering inside your skull. This isn't like any headache you've ever known. Somewhere in the distance, you hear screams, prayers, and the wailing of mourners. The city is breaking under the weight of a plague. No one understands, and you realize, with a sinking dread, that you might not live to see the dawn. This is like someone's taken a hammer to your skull, behind your eyes, in your temples, at the base of your neck. It's everywhere. You can barely think straight. Your body feels like it's been thrown from a cliff, every muscle aching, in ways you didn't know were possible. The room spins as you try to sit up. Bad idea. You fall back, the rough straw poking through the thin cloth beneath you. Nothing like your memory foam mattress back home, is it? Outside, you hear wailing. Someone's lost another family member. That's been the soundtrack of Athens for weeks now. Mourning, crying, the occasional prayer to gods, who don't seem to be listening. Cleon, are you awake? A voice comes from the doorway. Your sister Thalia? Thank the gods, she's still alive. I'm awake. You manage barely. She steps in, a clay lamp casting shadows across her face. Even in the dim light, you can see she looks terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, her normally carefully arranged hair hanging in tangles. She hasn't slept properly in days. You need to drink something, she says, bringing a cup to your lips. The water is warm and tastes faintly of the clay pot it's been stored in. But it's the most amazing thing you've ever tasted, soothing your throat for just a moment. How bad is it today? you ask, though you're not sure you want the answer. Thea sits on the edge of your bed. They're saying a quarter of the city might be dead already. The bodies, she stops, swallowing hard. They can't bury them fast enough. Some people are just piling them up and burning them. In a city of around 400,000 people, that's 100,000 dead. The number is too big to really comprehend. That's like what? A decent-sized modern football stadium, completely wiped out. Your stomach churns. And not just from the fever. Have you heard from Father? Your father had been called to the walls, still trying to defend the city against the Spartans, even as this plague tore through it. No, Thalia says, her voice flat, but Nikias from next door said he saw him 2 days ago. He was still standing then. That's something, I guess. You try to sit up again slowly this time. The room only spins a little. Progress. I need to show you something, you say, pulling at the neck of your tunic. These weren't here yesterday. Thalia leans closer, holding the lamp near your chest. Her sharp intake of breath tells you it's not good. Pustules, she whispers. The rash, just like Thucydides described. Thucydides, the general who survived the plague and wrote about it in excruciating detail. Great guy. Really thorough. But right now, you're not thrilled to be living out his medical observations. Awesome, you say, letting your head fall back. So, I've got the full package deal. Don't talk like that, Thalia snaps. Plenty of people are surviving this. You just need to rest, drink, and she trails off. Because honestly, nobody really knows what to do. This is 430 BCE. The height of medicine right now is basically, hope you get better with some herbs thrown in for good measure. I'm going to get you some barley porridge, she says, standing. You need to eat something. As she leaves, you're left alone with the sound of Athens dying around you. From somewhere in the distance, you hear shouting. Not mourning, this time angry voices, things breaking. That's the other thing Thucydides wrote about, how quickly society breaks down when death is everywhere. People are looting, stealing, doing whatever they want. The normal rules don't apply when you think you're going to die anyway. Some are spending everything they have on one last good time. Others are taking what they want by force. You close your eyes, trying to block it all out. Your body alternates between burning hot and freezing cold. Your throat feels like you've been gargling with sand. And now there's the pools, little fluid-filled bumps spreading across your chest. Good times in ancient Athens, huh? Here, Thalia's back, holding a wooden bowl of something steaming. The smell turns your stomach, but you know you need to eat. The porridge is bland, just boiled barley with a drizzle of olive oil and a pinch of salt. But it's food, and that's more than a lot of people in Athens have right now. I saw Pericles yesterday, Thalia says, as you force down a spoonful. That gets your attention. Pericles, the great leader of Athens, the man who ordered everyone inside the city walls for protection against Sparta, inadvertently creating the perfect conditions for disease to spread like wildfire. How is he, you ask? Sick, she says simply, like everyone else. That's the thing about this plague. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor, powerful or weak. Pericles, with all his wealth and influence, is just as vulnerable as the poorest slave in Athens. Some people are saying this is punishment from the gods, Thalia says, looking out the small window. The sky is turning pink as dawn approaches for bringing so many people inside the walls for the war. And what do you think, you ask, pushing the bowl away after a few bites. That's all you can manage. She's quiet for a moment. I think diseases don't care what the gods want. They just are. Pretty progressive thinking for 430 BCE. You're proud of your fictional sister. A sudden cramping in your gut doubles you over. Great. The diarrhea phase has begun. Thucydides mentioned this too. Your body is about to expel everything from both ends. Bucket. You gasp, and Thalia is quick, sliding a wooden pail next to your bed, just in time. I'll spare you the graphic details, but let's just say the next hour is unpleasant, very unpleasant. Ancient Greek plumbing isn't exactly equipped for this kind of situation, and by ancient Greek plumbing, I mean no plumbing at all. By midday, you're exhausted, drenched in sweat, and your throat is burning from vomiting. Thalia has been amazing, emptying the bucket, bringing fresh water, wiping your face with a damp cloth. But you can see she's swaying on her feet. Thalia, you rasp. Are you feeling okay? She won't meet your eyes. I'm fine. Just tired, Thalia. She sigh, sitting heavily on the stool beside your bed. My head hurts since this morning. Your heart sinks. The headache is how it starts. You should lie down, you say. Rest. Who's going to take care of you? She asks, and there's a note of panic in her voice. I'm through the worst of it, you lie. You have no idea if that's true. Just for an hour, please. She hesitates, then nods, too exhausted to argue. I'll be in the next room. Call if you need anything. After she leaves, you try to stand up. The room tilts alarmingly, but you manage to stay upright, holding on to the wall for support. You need to see what's happening outside. The street below your window is almost unrecognizable. From just a week ago, there are bodies. Not many. Most have been collected, but a few lie where they fell, covered with cloth. No one wants to touch them. People move quickly, heads down, keeping distance from each other. Some wear cloths over their faces, though no one knows if that helps. Others carry herbs and flowers to their noses, believing the sweet scents will ward off the disease. A group of men stagger past, clearly drunk despite the early hour. They're laughing too loudly, arms around each other's shoulders. One carries a wine jug. They're celebrating like it's their last day alive. For some of them, it probably is, as you watch two of them break away from the group, heading toward a house across the street. The door is ajar, never a good sign these days. It means the occupants are either dead or too sick to care about security. The men disappear inside, looting. It's becoming common, with death everywhere. The normal rules of society are collapsing. Why not steal? Why not take whatever you want? The gods have abandoned Athens. Anyway, you're reminded of what Thucydides wrote. The catastrophe was so overwhelming that men, not knowing what would happen next to them, became indifferent to every rule of religion or law. You turn away from the window, suddenly dizzy again, making your way back to the bed. You collapse onto it, your brief energy spent. Your eyes close, and you drift into a fevered sleep filled with strange dreams. You're running through Athens, but the streets keep changing. Bodies pile higher and higher until they form walls on either side. Pericles stands atop them, shouting something you can't understand. The Spartans are at the gates, but they're not men. They're giant rats with human faces. You wake with a start, disoriented. The room is dark again. You've slept the whole day away. Thalia, your voice is stronger now, which is something. No answer. Thalia, louder this time. You hear a faint sound from the next room. Pushing yourself up, you stagger to the doorway. Thalia is on her pallet, curled into a ball, shivering despite the summer heat. When she looks up at you, her eyes are bloodshot. You should be in bed, she says, but her voice is weak. So should you. You sit beside her, placing a hand on her forehead. She's burning up. I'll get you some water, you say, and she doesn't protest, which tells you how bad she feels. The water jug is nearly empty. You'll need to go to the public fountain tomorrow, assuming you're strong enough, assuming the water bearsers are still working, assuming the water hasn't somehow become contaminated and made everything worse, you help Thalia a drink, then soak a cloth and place it on her forehead. Is this what it felt like? She asks at the beginning, you nod. Unfortunately, yes. But hey, I'm already feeling better. Another lie, but a kind one. Your head still pounds, and your body aches, but the vomiting has stopped, and you haven't noticed any new pustules. Do you think Father is okay? She asks, her voice small. Of course, you say automatically. He's the strongest person we know. Neither of you mentions that strength means nothing against this plague. You've seen athletes and soldiers fall just as quickly as children, and the elderly try to sleep, you tell her. Things often look better in the morning, though in plague-ridden Athens, that's rarely true. Each morning seems to bring new horrors. As Thalia drifts off, you sit in the darkness, listening to the sounds of the city. It's quieter now than it used to be. Fewer people out, fewer shops open, fewer children playing. Athens is holding its breath, waiting to see who will survive and what will be left. You wonder about the Spartans outside the walls. Are they suffering too? Has the plague reached them? There are rumors it has that some of their soldiers are falling ill, but the Spartans are notorious for hiding weakness, so it's hard to know for sure. The cramping in your stomach returns, less severe this time, but still painful. You grab the bucket again, just in case. This is the reality of living through a pandemic in ancient times. No hospitals, no doctors with effective treatments, no understanding of germs or how diseases spread, just suffering, fear, and hoping your body is strong enough to fight off whatever invisible enemy has invaded it. You must have dozed off because suddenly it's morning again. Pale light filters through the window. Your mouth tastes terrible. Your body still aches, but your head feels clearer. The fever might be breaking. Thalia is still asleep, her breathing shallow but regular. The cloth on her forehead has dried out. You dampen it again with the last of the water. It's time to venture outside. You need more water and maybe some food, if any markets are still operating. The thought of walking through the plague-ridden streets makes your heart race, but you have no choice. You splash your face with a handful of water, run fingers through your matted hair, and pull a clean tunic over your head, wincing as the fabric brushes against the pules on your chest. They're drying out now, scabbing over. Hopefully a good sign. At the door, you hesitate. This is the first time you've left the house since falling ill. The world outside feels dangerous in a way it never has before. I'll be back soon, you whisper to Thalia, though she doesn't stir. The street is quieter than it appeared from the window. A few people move about, keeping their distance from each other. Everyone looks haunted, hollow-eyed, either recovering from the plague or waiting for it to strike. The water fountain is 3 streets over, in a small square that used to be the center of neighborhood life. Women would gather there in the mornings, filling their jugs and exchanging gossip. Children would play around the stone basin, occasionally cooling off with a splash in the summer heat. Now, as you approach, you see only a handful of people. They stand well apart, waiting their turn without the usual chatter. One woman is openly weeping as she fills her jug. Another has a cloth tied over her face. You take your place in the sparse line, the empty water jug heavy in your still weak arms. The sun is climbing higher, and despite the early hour, the heat is already building. Your tunic sticks to your back with sweat that might be from fever or might just be from the Greek summer. Cleon, is that you? You turn to see Stephanos, the potter whose workshop is next to your father's smithy. His normally robust frame looks shrunken, his tunic hanging loose on his shoulders. Stephanos, you're alive. It's become the standard greeting in Athens. More or less, he gestures to his left arm, which he's holding stiffly at his side. The pules left scars. Can't feel two of my fingers properly. He wiggles them to demonstrate. Not ideal for a potter. I'm sorry, you say. Because what else can you say? At least he's alive. Which is more than can be said for so many others. Your father, Stephanos says, his voice dropping. Have you heard? Your stomach clenches, and not from the plague this time. No. What about him? Stephanos looks uncomfortable. He's in the temple of Asclepius. He fell ill 3 days ago at the walls. The temple of Asclepius, god of healing. It's become a makeshift hospital, though hospital is a generous term for a place where the sick are laid out on pallets while priests burn offerings and pray for divine intervention. Is he? You can't finish the sentence. Alive, last I heard. Stephanos says quickly, I saw him yesterday. He was asking for you and Thalia. Relief floods through you, followed quickly by determination. You need to go to him. But first, water. When your turn comes, you fill the jug quickly. The water looks clear, but who knows? It could be carrying the very disease you're trying to recover from. But without it, you'll definitely die. So, it's a risk you have to take. I have to check on my sister. Then, I'm going to the temple. You tell Stephanos. He nods. I'll keep an eye on your house. There have been thieves. Thank you, you say, meaning it. Despite everything falling apart around you, there are still good people trying to help each other. The walk back feels longer. The full water jug growing heavier with each step. By the time you reach your door, your arms are trembling with exhaustion. Inside, Thalia is awake, sitting up on her pallet. Her face is flushed with fever, but her eyes are alert. Where did you go? She demands. I woke up and you were gone. Water, you say, holding up the jug, and news. Father's alive. He's at the temple of Asclepius. Her face crumples with relief. Thank the gods. When can we see him? I'm going now, you say, pouring some water into a cup for her. You need to rest. I'm coming with you, she says, already trying to stand. Thalia, you can barely walk. I don't care. There's a stubborn set to her jaw that you recognize all too well. He's my father, too. You know better than to argue when she gets like this. Fine, but we go slowly, and you tell me if you need to stop. The temple of Asclepius sits on a hill overlooking the agora, Athens' main marketplace. Usually the walk would take about 20 minutes from your house. Today, with both of you weakened by illness, it takes over an hour. The streets become more crowded as you approach the agora. Though it's nothing like the bustling center it was before the plague. Some shops are open, selling food and necessities, but there are no casual browsers, no groups of men discussing politics, no children darting between market stalls. It's so quiet, Thalia whispers, leaning heavily on your arm. I know, the silence of Athens is perhaps more unsettling than the visible signs of the plague. The temple looms ahead, its white columns stark against the blue sky. In normal times, it would be a place of quiet reverence, with the sick making offerings and sleeping within its walls, hoping for healing dreams from the god. Now it's overflowing. Pallets line the steps and the surrounding grounds. Priests and attendants move among them, offering water and words of comfort, but little else. The smell hits you first. Sickness, unwashed bodies, waste buckets that aren't emptied often enough. You feel Thea tense beside you, but she straightens her shoulders and keeps walking. An attendant meets you at the base of the steps. Who are you looking for? Aricides the blacksmith, you say. Our father. We heard he was brought here. The man's face softens slightly. The big man with the beard from the west wall. You nod, hope rising. Follow me. He leads you through the rows of the sick and dying, up the temple steps, and into the main chamber. Inside, it's cooler, but more crowded, with barely enough space to walk between the pallets. There, the attendant points to a corner where a large figure lies still on a pallet. You hurry over, Thalia close behind. As you approach, you can see your father's chest, rising and falling. He's alive, but his normally ruddy face is pale and covered with sweat. His powerful arms, so strong from years at the forge, lie limp at his sides. Father, Thalia chokes out, dropping to her knees beside him. His eyes flutter open, unfocused at first, then sharpening as he recognizes you. My children, he whispers, his voice a rasp. You're alive. Oh, so are you, you say, taking his hand. It's burning hot, the skin dry, barely. He tries to smile, but it turns into a grimace of pain. The gods are testing me. Save your strength, Thalia says, placing a cool hand on his forehead. We're here now. Around you, the temple is a scene of quiet desperation. Priests move from pallet to pallet, offering prayers and sometimes medicine, herbs and concoctions that probably do little good, but provide comfort nonetheless. Family members sit with the sick, some weeping, others just staring blankly, as if they can't quite believe what's happening. In one corner, a priestess is chanting burning herbs that fill the air with fragrant smoke. The sick nearest to her breathe it in desperately, hoping for some relief from their suffering. This is medicine in 430 BCE, a mixture of primitive herbal remedies, religious ritual, and hoping for the best. No antibiotics, no understanding of hygiene, no concept of viruses or bacteria, just people doing what they've always done in times of illness, praying it will be enough. As you sit with your father, watching his labored breathing, you realize this is what pandemic survival has always been about. Not just your own body's fight against disease, but the struggle to care for those you love, to hold society together when everything is falling apart, to find meaning in suffering. Thalia catches your eye across your father's pallet. Despite everything, her own illness, the horrors you've both witnessed, the uncertainty of the future, there's a flicker of determination in her gaze, a refusal to give up. And in that moment, you understand why some people survive plagues while others succumb. It's not just about physical strength or luck. It's about finding a reason to keep going day after day, hour after hour, breath after breath, as the sun begins to set, casting long shadows through the temple's columns. Your father's fever seems to ease slightly. His breathing becomes more regular, and he even manages to drink a little water. You should go home, he tells you and Thalia. Rest. Come back tomorrow. We're staying, Thalia says firmly, and you nod in agreement. Outside, Athens settles into an uneasy night. The usual sounds of evening, music, laughter, the calls of vendors selling their last wares are absent. Instead, there's just the occasional wail of mourning, the hurried footsteps of those rushing to reach home before dark, and the eerie silence of a city whose very soul is under siege. Inside the temple, lamps are lit, casting a warm glow over the suffering. Some of the sick sleep fitfully, others stare at the ceiling, lost in their own thoughts. A few murmur prayers or call for water. You and Thalia take turns dozing, making sure one of you is always awake to watch over your father. The night passes slowly, marked by the changing of the priests, the moans of the sick, and the awful final stillness that comes over some pallets. But your father makes it through the night, and as dawn breaks over Athens, bringing another day of uncertainty and fear, you allow yourself a small flicker of hope. Because that's the thing about pandemics. Even the worst ones in history, they don't last forever. And even in the darkest moments, there are people fighting, caring, finding ways to survive. People like you, people like Thalia, people like your father, clinging to life with the same stubborn strength he brings to his forge. The plague will pass. Eventually, Athens will rebuild. Those who survive will tell stories of these days, of the time when death walked the streets and life itself seemed to hang in the balance. And maybe, just maybe, they'll remember not just the horror, but the moments of courage and kindness that shone through the darkness, like the attendant who brings you fresh water without being asked, like Stephanos, keeping watch over your empty house, like you and Thalia, refusing to leave your father's side. This is what it means to live through history's worst pandemics. Not just the suffering, but the fighting back, the hanging on, the refusing to let death have the final word. As the new day brightens, your father opens his eyes clearer now, more present. Still here? He asks, looking at you and Thalia. Always, Thalia says, squeezing his hand. And in that moment, against all odds, you believe you might all survive this. After all, the world shifts around you. Athens fades away, the temple of Asclepius dissolving like mist. For a moment, you're suspended between times, between lives. Then reality solidifies again, and you're somewhere new, someone new. Your name is Marius, and you're a soldier in the Roman Empire. The year is 165 CE. You wake up to pounding on your door. Your head is throbbing, your mouth dry as sand. The thin wool blanket is soaked with sweat, despite the winter chill. Marius, open up. The voice belongs to Gas, your commander. You try to stand, but your legs buckle. Something's wrong, very wrong. Your skin feels like it's burning from the inside. I'm coming, you croak, but your voice is barely a whisper. The door crashes open, and Gas stands there, silhouetted against the morning light. His face is half covered with a cloth, and he's keeping his distance. Gods above, you look terrible, he says, staying firmly in the doorway. You've got it, haven't you? Got what? But even as you ask, you know, the sickness that's been spreading through Rome for weeks now. The one that came back with the legions from the Eastern campaign against the Parthians. They're calling it the Antonine Plague, after Emperor Antoninus, though some are starting to call it the Plague of Galen, after the physician who's been documenting its spread. Whatever the name, it's been ripping through the empire like fire through dry grass. You know what Gas says grimly? The plague. Half the barracks is down with it already. You try to respond, but a coughing fit doubles you over. When you straighten up, you notice spots of blood on your hand. Gas sees it too, and takes another step back. I'll send someone with food and water. Stay here. Don't come out. But the patrol? Forget the patrol. You're quarantined. Emperor's orders. He's already backing away. Anyone showing symptoms is to remain isolated. With that, he's gone. Pulling the door shut behind him, you hear him shouting orders to someone outside, probably telling them to mark your door so others know their sickness inside. Great. Just great. You slump back onto your cot, the world spinning. The small room, little more than a cell, really feels both too hot and too cold at once. Your standard issue legionary tunic is plastered to your skin with sweat. Nothing like the breathable fabrics you're used to in your bed at home. No memory foam pillows here, just a straw-stuffed sack that smells faintly of mold and the previous occupant. How did this happen? You were fine yesterday, maybe a little tired after the long march, but nothing unusual, nothing to suggest You are about to be flattened by whatever this is. Your mind drifts back to the campaign. 3 years fighting in Mesopotamia. 3 years of blood, dust, and boredom punctuated by moments of sheer terror. You'd survived it all. The battles, the ambushes, the scorching heat, and freezing nights of the desert, only to come home and get taken down by some invisible enemy. The irony would be funny if you weren't so miserable. A scraping sound at the door interrupts your self-pity. Someone has left a jug of water and a bowl of something outside. You hear their retreating footsteps, hurrying away from the contamination zone. It takes all your strength to crawl to the door and retrieve the items. The water jug is heavy clay, and you nearly drop it. The bowl contains a thin gruel barley, some herbs, maybe a bit of olive oil. Standard sick food. You drink deeply from the jug, the water easing your parched throat, but almost immediately your stomach rebels. You barely make it to the chamber pot in the corner before everything comes back up. So that's how it's going to be. Great. Outside, life in Rome continues. You can hear the sounds of the city through your small window. Vendors calling their wares, the clatter of carts on stone streets, the endless hum of thousands of people living on top of each other. But there's something different about the soundscape now. There are gaps, silences where there shouldn't be, fewer voices, fewer carts, and occasionally the unmistakable wail of mourning. Rome is changing. You can feel it even from your sickbed. You drift in and out of consciousness as the day wears on. The fever rises and falls like the tide, bringing strange dreams when it peaks. You see your mother dead these 10 years. Standing at the foot of your cot, you see battlefields from the Eastern campaign, but the enemy soldiers have no faces. You see Emperor Marcus Aurelius, himself wearing a crown of burning thorns. When you wake fully, it's dark. Someone has left more water and food while you slept and lit the small oil lamp on the table. The flame casts jumping shadows on the walls. Your skin feels strange, tight somehow. You hold your arm up to the lamplight and nearly cry out in shock. Raised bumps cover your skin from wrist to elbow, small hard pules that itch and burn. You check your other arm and find the same. Pulling up your tunic, you see they're spreading across your chest too. Not good, you mutter to yourself. Really not good. You've seen this before. On the march home from Mesopotamia, soldiers breaking out in similar rashes. Then the fever spiking. Then, well, about a quarter of them didn't make it. The rest were never quite the same. A knock on the door startles you. You're not expecting anyone. Food deliveries just appear without announcement. Who is it? Your voice sounds terrible, a raspy shadow of itself. It's Livia. Your heart jumps. Livia, the daughter of the cloth merchant, whose shop sits beside the barracks. The woman whose smile you've been thinking about for weeks, ever since you returned from the East. You can't be here. You call out, "I'm sick. The plague." I know. Her voice is calm. Open the door, Marius. Against your better judgment, you shamble to the door and pull it open a crack. Livia stands there, a basket in her hands, a cloth tied over her nose and mouth. You shouldn't be here, you repeat. Probably not, she agrees. But my father had this sickness last month and recovered, and I've been helping at the temple, tending to the sick. If I'm going to catch it, I would have by now. She pushes past you into the room, setting her basket on the table. Besides, someone needs to make sure you soldiers don't die of neglect. The army's idea of nursing is throwing bread at you twice a day and hoping for the best. You're too weak to argue, collapsing back onto your cot as she busies herself with the contents of her basket. My father thinks it's a punishment from the gods, she says conversationally, crushing something in a small mortar and pestle she's brought for the Eastern campaign for disturbing sacred sites. What do you think? You ask. Watching her work, she shrugs. I think disease doesn't need gods to explain it. It just needs bodies. That's surprisingly practical. I live above a cloth shop in the most crowded city in the world, she says dryly. Practicality keeps you alive. She approaches with a cup of something steaming. Drink this willow bark honey and a few other things. It won't cure you, but it might help with the fever. The drink is bitter, despite the honey, but you force it down. Thank you. Livia nods, then dips a cloth in a bowl of water and begins to sponge your face. The cool water feels incredible against your burning skin. They say Emperor Varus has it, she says after a moment. The plague that gets your attention. Lucius Varus, co-emperor with Marcus Aurelius, a military man respected by the legions. Will he survive? You ask. Livia's hands pause briefly. They say it doesn't look good. The best physicians in Rome are with him, but she trails off. If the emperor can die from this with all his wealth and the finest medical care available, what chance do you have? As if reading your thoughts, Livia says, but many are surviving, more than half. The odds are in your favor. Not great odds, but better than you faced in some battles. How bad is it, you ask? In the city. She's quiet for a moment, wringing out the cloth. Bad. The temples are full. The funeral pyres burn day and night. Some neighborhoods are almost empty. People fleeing to the countryside, thinking they'll be safer there. Her voice turns bitter, as if the rich taking their sickness to their villas won't spread it further. And the emperor? What's he doing? Marcus Aurelius has ordered public graves for the poor, paid from the imperial treasury. He's trying to keep order. She sigh, but there's only so much anyone can do. She continues tending to you, applying a cooling salve to the pustules, helping you drink more water, even spoon, feeding you a rich broth she's brought. That's infinitely better than the gruel the army provided. As she works, she tells you about the city, how it's changing under the shadow of the plague. Markets half empty, temples overflowing, the Colosseum closed, gladiatorial games suspended, the rich retreating to their country estates, the poor dying in the streets. It's like the gods have cursed us, she says, though she'd earlier dismissed divine punishment. First war, now this. You want to offer some comfort, but what can you say? This is the reality of living through a pandemic in the ancient world. There are no vaccines, no antibiotics, just herbal remedies, prayer, and hoping your body is strong enough to fight it off. You should go. You tell her eventually. It's late, and being around me can't be good. No matter what you say about immunity. Livia hesitates, then nods. I'll come back tomorrow. Try to rest. After she leaves, you lie in the dark, listening to the muted sounds of nighttime Rome. Somewhere nearby, someone is sobbing. Somewhere else, a dog barks incessantly. The normal sounds of the greatest city in the world, now tinged with desperation. The fever rises again during the night, bringing more strange dreams. You're back in Mesopotamia, but the enemy soldiers have pustule-covered faces. You're in the Colosseum, but instead of gladiators, sick men fight each other while the crowd cheers. You're standing before Emperor Marcus Aurelius, trying to explain why you brought this plague back from the east, but no words come out. You wake gasping, your tunic soaked through with sweat. The pustules have spread, covering most of your body now. They itch maddeningly, but you know from watching others that scratching only makes it worse, leading to infected sores that leave deep scars. The dawn light filtering through your window shows a jar of fresh water by your bed. Livia must have come and gone while you were lost in fever dreams. The day passes in a blur of misery. Your commander, Gas, shouts through the door that 10 more soldiers in your century have fallen ill. The barracks are being converted to a sick ward. The patrols are undermanned. The city is growing restless. Just don't die. He orders you, as if it's a matter of discipline. That's an order, soldier. Yes, sir, you croak. Though you're not sure he hears you. By evening, the fever has broken slightly, leaving you weak, but more alert. The pustules have stopped spreading, which you hope is a good sign. You manage to keep down some water and a little bread. When Livia arrives, she seems pleased with your progress. The first 3 days are the worst, she tells you. Changing the cloth, she's laid over the worst of the pustules. If you make it through those, you'll likely recover. How do you know so much about this, you ask? I told you, I've been helping at the temple. You see patterns after a while. She works with quick, efficient movements. Her hands gentle, but sure. The very old and very young are hit hardest. Soldiers and laborers. Strong men often recover. Often you repeat. Not always. She meets your eyes. No, not always. There's something she's not telling you. You can see it in the tightness around her mouth, the way she won't quite meet your gaze. Livia? What is it? She sighed, sitting on the stool beside your cot. There's talk in the city, people saying the soldiers brought this back from the east, that it's your fault. Her voice drops. There have been incidents, attacks on legionaries who were walking alone. Great. As if being sick wasn't bad enough. Now you have to worry about angry mobs. Are you safe? You ask. Coming here to the barracks. She gives you a small smile. I can take care of myself. And most people know my father and I have been helping the sick. They leave us alone. You nod, but make a mental note to be careful when you recover. If you recover. Rest, Livia says, standing. I'll come again tomorrow. She does come the next day, and the next. Each day, you grow a little stronger. The pustules begin to dry out and scab over. The fever recedes. Your appetite returns. On the 5th day, you're able to stand without the room spinning. On the 6th, you can walk the length of your small quarters without needing to rest. Livia brings news from the city. The plague continues to spread, claiming more lives each day. Emperor Varus is dead, leaving Marcus Aurelius as sole emperor. The funeral purrs without ceasing. They say a quarter of those who catch it die. She tells you on her 7th visit, you're lucky. Lucky? You don't feel lucky. Covered in scabs that will likely leave scars weak as a newborn colt. But you're alive, which is more than can be said for many. On the 10th day, gas declares you fit for light duty. The pustules have mostly healed, leaving angry red marks that will fade to scars over time. Your strength is returning, though you tire easily. Report to the granary. He tells you through the door, still unwilling to face you directly. Guard duty, minimal contact with others. You understand the caution. Even though you've recovered, people will be wary of you for a while, and truthfully, no one is sure if those who've had the plague can spread it to others, even after they seem well. The Rome you step into after 10 days of isolation is changed. The streets are less crowded. Many shops are closed, their owners dead or fled. The usual bustle of the world's greatest city is muted, as if everyone is holding their breath, waiting to see who will be struck down next. At the granary, you take up your post alongside 2 other soldiers who've also recovered from the plague. Your orders are simple. Prevent looting. With food supplies disrupted by the pandemic, the granaries have become prime targets. Heard about the riots in the Sabura? One of the soldiers asks you during the long quiet watch. You shake your head. Food ran out, or the merchants were charging too much. Depends who you ask. He rubs at the scars on his arms. A habit you've noticed among those who've survived the pustules. Mob tore apart 3 shops before the urban cohort got there. The other soldier spits. Going to get worse before it gets better. Always does with these things. You think of Athens, of the social breakdown Thucydides described during that long-ago plague. Some things never change. It seems whether in Greece or Rome, whether 430 BCE or 165 CE, as darkness falls, you notice a familiar figure approaching the granary, Livia carrying her basket. You shouldn't be out after dark. You tell her when she reaches you. It's not safe. I know, she says simply, but I promised my father I'd bring this to the temple. She indicates her basket. Medicines. He's been making them for the sick. I'll walk you there, you decide, looking to your fellow guards. Cover for me. They nod, understanding in their plague-scarred faces. The streets are eerily quiet. As you and Livia make your way toward the temple, few people are out, and those who hurry along with heads down, avoiding contact. The only crowds are around taverns where men drink as if there's no tomorrow, which, for some of them, there may not be. It's changing everything, Livia says quietly as you walk. This plague, the way people think, the way they behave. Some have given up all restraint, spending everything they have on pleasure, figuring they'll be dead soon anyway. Others have become fanatically religious, seeing punishment from the gods everywhere. And you ask. She considers this. I think I've become more practical, more focused on what matters, helping where I can, being with those I care about. She glances at you, not wasting time. There's something in her look that warms you despite the cool evening air. You reach the temple where activity continues, despite the late hour. Priests and helpers move among pallets of the sick, offering comfort, if not cure. The air is heavy with incense, partly for religious purposes, partly to mask the smell of sickness. Livia delivers her basket to a grateful priestess, then turns to you. Walk me home. The journey to her father's shop takes you through the heart of Rome. Even in the grip of plague, the eternal city maintains a certain grandeur. The moonlight gleams on marble buildings, on fountains still flowing, on monuments to emperors and gods who've watched over countless crises. Outside the cloth shop, Livia pauses. Would you like to come in? My father would be glad to see you recovered. You hesitate. It feels strange to be engaging in something as normal as a social visit when the world seems to be falling apart around you. But maybe that's exactly what's needed. Small moments of normally of connection in the midst of chaos. I'd like that. You say inside the shop is warm and smells of wool and dye. Livia's father, a stooped man with clever eyes, greets you warmly, examining your healing pustules with professional interest. Good, he says, nodding. They're drying clean, no infection. You'll have some scars, but nothing too disfiguring. Father, Livia chides, but you laugh. Honesty is appreciated, you tell him. I've seen men whose pustules festered. I'm lucky. There's that word again. Lucky? Are you really? Or is it just the randomness of disease, striking down some while sparing others for no discernible reason? Over a simple meal of bread, cheese, and watered wine, Livia and her father talk about the city, about customers who haven't been seen for weeks, about the cloth trade slowing as people focus on necessities rather than new tunics. It will pass, her father says, with the confidence of age. All things do. Rome has survived worse. Has it, though? You wonder. This plague is like nothing in living memory. It's reshaping the empire in ways that may not be fully understood for generations. When you eventually rise to leave, Livia walks you to the door. Will you come again? She asks. If you'd like, you say, suddenly unsure. I would. She reaches up, her fingers lightly tracing one of the healing pustules on your cheek. We survivors should stick together. As you walk back to the barracks, Rome sleeps uneasily around you. The plague continues its invisible march through the city, through the empire. no one knows how many will die before it's done. Estimates already run into the millions across all provinces. But life continues, as it always does. People adapt, survive, find moments of connection amid disaster. Back in your quarters, you examine your face in the polished metal mirror. The pustules are healing, but they'll leave scars, battle scars of a different kind. You think of Livia, of her steady hands and practical mind, of the way she looked at you, not with disgust at your disease-marked skin, but with recognition. Fellow survivor, perhaps there is some luck in this after all. As you drift off to sleep, you wonder what happens next, not just for you, for Livby, for plague-stricken Rome, but for humanity, facing this invisible enemy that respects no borders, no wealth, no status. The plague will eventually recede, as all pandemics do, but it will leave a changed world in its wake, a world where perhaps some lessons have been learned, where perhaps next time people will be better prepared. Though as you slip into dreams, a part of you doubts it. Some patterns seem to repeat throughout history, as inevitable as the seasons, and you wonder what the next great pandemic will bring. Once again, the world shifts around you. Rome fades away like morning mist, and for a moment, you'll know where and know when. Then reality snaps back into focus. Your name is Demetrios. You're a merchant in Constantinople, the jewel of the Byzantine Empire. The year is 541 CE. You wake to the sound of gulls and distant shouting from the harbor. Your bedroom window faces east, and golden morning light spills across your silk coverlet. Not the rough wool blankets of Rome or the scratchy straw pallets of Athens. You've done well for yourself in this life, but something's wrong. You can feel it immediately. Your body aches in a way that has nothing to do with age or exertion. Your head pounds. There's a strange swelling under your arm that wasn't there yesterday, tender to the touch. No, you whisper. Please, not this. The rumors have been spreading faster than the disease itself. A terrible plague, they say, moving along the trade routes from Egypt. Some claim it started in Ethiopia, others say India or China. Wherever it began, it's here now in the greatest city in the world, in your home. You sit up wincing at the pain, the swelling under your arm. A boo. They're calling it throbs with every heartbeat. You've heard what comes next. Fever, delirium, death for most. A knock at your bedroom door makes you jump. Master, it's Zoe, your housekeeper. Are you awake? There's a messenger from the docks. The docks? Your shipment of silk from Damascus. Under normal circumstances, this would be your primary concern. Making sure the goods arrived safely, checking the quality, negotiating storage, until you can arrange sales to the city's wealthiest families. But nothing is normal anymore. Tell him I'm unwell. You call back, your voice surprisingly steady. The silk can wait. A pause. Master, he says it's urgent. Something about inspection orders from the Emperor, Emperor Justinian. Even in your feverish state, the name commands attention. The most powerful man in the known world, whose vision of restoring the glory of the old Roman Empire has driven decades of conquest and construction. Fine, you sigh. Give me a moment. Dressing is an ordeal. Every movement sends pain shooting through your body. You choose a tunic with full sleeves, hoping to hide the swelling in your armpit. No need to cause a panic. Yet the messenger is waiting in your courtyard, a skinny boy who keeps shifting from foot to foot. When he sees you, he takes an instinctive step back. Do you look that bad already? What news? You ask, keeping your distance. No sense exposing him. If you truly have the plague. Emperor's orders, sir, the boy says, extending a sealed parchment at arm's length. All shipments from Egypt and Syria to be held at the docks for inspection. They're checking for signs of disease. Too late for that, you think grimly. Taking the parchment. The seal is imperial, genuine. Who's doing the inspections, you ask? If it's some corrupt official using this as an excuse to demand bribes, you'll need to make arrangements. Doctors, sir. Sent by the Emperor himself. The boy's eyes dart nervously. They say 10,000 are dying each day in Egypt. 10,000 each day. The number is too vast to comprehend. Thank you, you say, pressing a small coin into the boy's hand. Go quickly now. He doesn't need to be told twice. Practically running from your house. Alone again, you slump against a column in your courtyard. The fever is getting worse. The morning sun, usually so welcome, feels like an assault. And the boo under your arm pulses with hot, insistent pain. Master Zoe again, hovering in the doorway. Should I send for a physician? You consider this. Physicians are already in short supply, with so many falling ill. And what can they do, really? The treatments you've heard about lancing the buboes, bloodletting, strange herbal concoctions, seem as likely to kill as to cure. But the alternative is waiting to die. Yes, you decide. Send for one. And Zoe, don't come near me. Tell the others to stay away too. Her eyes widen as she understands. The plague? You have it? I don't know for certain. But yes, I think so. She makes the sign of the cross, backing away. I'll send for the physician right away. Left alone, you make your way to your private courtyard garden. If these are to be your last days, you want to spend them looking at beauty, not trapped in a sick room. The garden is your pride, a small oasis of tranquility in the bustling heart of Constantinople. A fountain bubbles at its center, surrounded by carefully tended roses, jasmine, and pomegranate trees. You sink onto a marble bench, the cool stone soothing against your burning skin. From here, you can see a sliver of the city beyond your walls. Constantinople, the new Rome, with its magnificent churches and palaces, its bustling markets and crowded streets, the greatest city in Christendom, home to nearly 500,000 souls. How many of those souls will survive this plague? Your mind wanders to your warehouse, near the docks filled with treasures from across the known world. Silks from Damascus and beyond, spices from India, ivory from Africa, papers from Egypt. Your entire life's work measured in goods and gold. What good is any of it if the plague takes you? A soft moan escapes your lips as a wave of pain washes over you. The boo is growing larger. You can feel it. And now, there's another one forming on your neck. Your skin burns. Your thoughts grow fuzzy around the edges. Master Demetrios, you look up, blinking against the sunlight. A man stands at the garden entrance, bearded, wearing the dark robes of a physician. The plague, you say simply. No point in pretenses. He nods, approaching cautiously. May I examine you? What's the point? Bitterness creeps into your voice. Can you cure it? No, he admits, and you appreciate his honesty. But I can perhaps ease your suffering. And not everyone dies. Not everyone. Small comfort, but comfort nonetheless. You allow him to examine you, wincing as his fingers probe the swollen buboes. His face remains impassive, professional. But you can read the grim diagnosis in his eyes. How long, you ask when he's finished? Impossible to say. Some succumb within days, others linger for weeks. He opens his satchel, removing various vials and packets. I can give you something for the pain and fever, and I recommend lancing the buboes. The pus inside is believed to contain the poison. You've heard of this treatment, cutting open the swellings to drain the infected fluid. It sounds barbaric, but then again, so is dying of plague. Do it, you say, closing your eyes. What follows is among the most painful experiences of your life. The physician uses a small, sharp blade to slice open the buboes, one under your arm, the other on your neck. The pain is blinding, white hot, but mercifully brief. Then comes the draining, foul-smelling pus that he captures in a cloth. Burn that. You gasp when it's over. Of course. He bandages your wounds, then prepares a draught of various herbs steeped in wine. Drink this. It will help with the fever and pain. The concoction tastes vile. Bitter herbs, barely masked by the sweetness of the wine, but you drink it all, desperate for any relief. Rest now, the physician says, packing his implements. Have your servants bring cool water for compresses, and pray, will you come again tomorrow? You ask, suddenly afraid of facing this alone. He hesitates, then nods. If I'm able, if he's not taken by the plague himself. He means, after he leaves, you remain in the garden until the shadows grow long. The medicine has dulled the worst of the pain, but the fever still rages. Your thoughts drift, memories swirling like leaves in a stream. You think of your childhood in a small village outside Antioch, your father's farm, the day you decided to seek your fortune in the great city of Constantinople, your first successful trading venture, the slow accumulation of wealth and status, the wife you lost in childbirth 10 years ago, the son who's studying in Athens, thank God, far from this plague-stricken city. Will you ever see him again? As evening approaches, Zoe cautiously enters the garden, keeping her distance. Master, there's news from the city. Tell me, you say, rousing yourself from your fevered days. They say the emperor himself has fallen ill with the plague. That gets your attention. Justinian, the most powerful man in the world, struck down just like the poorest beggar in the streets. Has he died? You ask. Not yet. But the city is in chaos. People are fleeing. The markets are empty. And she hesitates. What is it? The bodies, master. There are too many to bury properly. They're using mass graves outside the walls. And some, her voice drops to a whisper, some are simply being thrown into the sea. You close your eyes, imagining the horror of it. The magnificent civilized city of Constantinople reduced to disposing of its dead like so much garbage. You should leave. You tell Zoe, take what wages are owed to you, and go. Get out of the city while you can. She shakes her head stubbornly. My place is here. Besides, where would I go? The plague is everywhere. Is it? You wonder just how far this pestilence has spread. Throughout the empire, certainly. But beyond, is any place safe? Night falls, bringing no relief from the fever. You drift in and out of consciousness, your dreams filled with nightmarish visions, streets piled with corpses, the sea turned red with blood, the great dome of Hagia Sophia cracking open like an egg to reveal a swarm of diseased rats. You wake gasping, drenched in sweat to find it's morning again. Somehow, you've survived the night. Zoe brings bread and watered wine, which you can barely touch. The physician, you ask. I sent for him, but she doesn't need to finish. Either he's tending to other patients, or he's succumbed himself. You nod unsurprised. Help me to the roof, you say. I want to see the city. Your house, like many belonging to wealthy merchants, has a flat roof used as an additional living space in pleasant weather. Zoe helps you climb the stairs, supporting your weight as your legs threaten to give out. The view from the roof steals what little breath you have left. Constantinople, the bustling, vibrant heart of the empire, looks like a city of the dead. The streets, normally teeming with life, are nearly empty. No merchants hawking their wares, no children playing, no animals being led to market, only the occasional cart rumbling past, piled high with shrouded forms. In the distance, beyond the city walls, you can see the smoke from funeral peas, So many that they form a hazy pool over the horizon. They're burning the bodies now. Zoe says quietly, there's no room left to bury them. You think of the 10,000 dying each day in Egypt, according to the messenger boy. Is it the same here? How many have already been lost? How many more will follow? A bout of dizziness forces you to sit. The buboes, though drained yesterday, have refilled overnight, painful and hot. The fever comes and goes in waves, leaving you alternately burning and shivering. Help me back down, you say after a while. I need to write to my son. In your study, you struggle to hold a pen steady enough to write. The words swim before your eyes, but you persist. Your son should know what's happened, should know how much you love him, should be prepared if the plague reaches Athens too. You seal the letter with your merchant's mark, pressing the signet ring into hot wax. Send this with the next ship to Athens. You tell Zoe, pay whatever it costs. She takes the letter, her face solemn. I will, master. The day passes slowly. Your condition neither improves nor dramatically worsens. The physician doesn't come. From your garden, you can hear the changing sounds of the cityless traffic. Fewer voices, but more bells tolling for the dead. By evening, a new symptom appears. Your skin, particularly on your extremities, begins to darken. First, a reddish hue, then purplish black, starting at your fingers and toes. Gangrene, the final stage of the plague, according to the rumors. I'm dying. You tell Zoe when she brings your evening meal, which again goes untouched. She doesn't contradict you, which is answer enough. Will you stay? You ask. Until the end. Of course, master. Her eyes glisten with unshed tears. Where else would I go? Where else, indeed? The plague is everywhere. The known world is being unmade. Night falls again. Your fever spikes, bringing with it vivid hallucinations. The walls of your bedroom seem to breathe. Shadows take on monstrous forms. You see your dead wife sitting at the foot of your bed, beckoning. But morning comes again, and somehow you're still alive. Are not only alive, but different. The fever has broken. The buboes, while still present, no longer throb with each heartbeat. The blackness in your extremities has stopped spreading. When Zoe comes to check on you, her eyes widen in surprise. Master, you look better. I feel better, you say, marveling at it. Not well, but better. Could it be? Are you one of the lucky ones who survive? The physician finally returns that afternoon, looking haggarded and much older than he did 2 days ago. He examines you with evident surprise. The buboes are shrinking, he says, and your fever has broken. It appears you may recover. Is that common? You ask. He shakes his head. No. Most who reach the stage of blackening skin do not survive. You are fortunate. Fortunate? The word seems inadequate for what feels like a miracle. What of the city? You ask. The emperor, Justinian lives, the physician says. Like you, he seems to be recovering, but many, many others have not been so fortunate. Perhaps a third of the city has perished already. A third in a city of 500,000. That means over 150,000 dead. The number is too vast to comprehend. Will it end? You ask. This plague. The physician sighs, suddenly looking every year of his age. All things end eventually. But this may take years to burn itself out, and it may return in waves. He's right, though neither of you can know it yet. This plague, later to be called the Plague of Justinian, will last for over 2 centuries, coming and going in deadly waves. It will kill an estimated 100 million people across the Byzantine Empire, Europe, and beyond. It will help prevent Justinian's dream of reconquering and reuniting the old Roman Empire. It will reshape the political and religious landscape of the known world. But for now, all you know is that you've been granted a reprieve, a second chance at life when so many others have perished. In the days that follow, your strength slowly returns. The buboes shrink and eventually disappear, leaving only scars. The blackness in your extremities fades, though your fingertips and toes remain slightly discolored, a permanent reminder of how close you came to death. A week after your fever breaks, you're strong enough to visit your warehouse near the docks. The streets of Constantinople are still unnaturally quiet. Many shops remain closed, their owners dead or fled. Those people you do see hurry about their business, avoiding close contact, many with cloths tied over their faces. At the harbor, the usual bustle of commerce has slowed to a trickle. Ships sit idle, either quarantined or unable to find enough healthy crew to sail. Your warehouse, when you reach it, is untouched, your silks and spices still safely stored. But to what end? Who remains to buy such luxuries in a city ravaged by plague? As you're inspecting your inventory, a commotion outside draws your attention. A ship is arriving, its crew calling out as they dock. Not a merchant vessel, by the look of it, but an imperial dispatch boat. You step outside in time to see a court official disembark, surrounded by guards. He unrolls a scroll and begins to read in a loud voice. By order of Emperor Justinian, recovered by the grace of God from the pestilence that afflicts our empire, all citizens are commanded to pray for deliverance. Churches will remain open day and night for this purpose. Those who have recovered from the plague are specially enjoined to give thanks for their salvation and to assist the afflicted where possible, as they may do so without fear of reinfection. Interesting. The emperor believes those who've recovered are immune to the plague. Is he right? You have no idea, but the thought is comforting. The official continues. Furthermore, to prevent the spread of disease, all bodies must be properly buried or burned. The dumping of corpses is forbidden on pain of death. Ships arriving from foreign ports must remain quarantined for 40 days before any person or cargo may enter the city. 40 days of quarantine that will essentially halt trade for the duration of the plague. Your business, your livelihood, is effectively over, at least for now, but you're alive, unlike hundreds of thousands, millions of others across the empire. As you walk back home through the plague-ravaged city, you think about what comes next, not just for you, but for Constantinople, for the Byzantine Empire, for the world. This plague has changed everything. The dead are beyond counting. The survivors will carry the scars, visible and invisible, for the rest of their lives. Yet humanity continues. The plague will eventually recede. Cities will rebuild. Trade will resume. Life in some form will go on. And centuries later, people will look back on this time, on your time, and wonder what it was like to live through one of history's deadliest pandemics. They'll read accounts written by scholars and church officials. They'll study the economic and political aftermath. They'll note the plague's role in shaping the medieval world that followed, but they won't really know what it felt like. The terror of waking with a swollen lymph node, the pain of the buboes being lanced, the fever dreams and hallucinations, the sight of carts piled high with bodies, the smell of mass funeral peas burning day and night, the grief of losing friends, family, neighbors, the strange guilty relief of survival when so many others perished. These things can't be fully captured in historical records. They can only be lived. As you reach your home, the sun is setting over Constantinople, casting a golden glow over the city of the dead and the dying, but also the city of the living, the survivors, those who, like you, will carry the memory of this plague forward into whatever world emerges from its shadow. And you wonder, as the light fades, what the next great pandemic will bring. And who will live to tell its story? Once more, reality shifts around you. Constantinople dissolves like fog in morning sun. For a suspended moment, you exist nowhere and know when. Then the world resolidifies. Your name is Thomas. You're a baker's son in the thriving port city of Bristol, England. The year is 1348. You wake to the sound of church bells, not the regular morning call to prayer, but the frantic, irregular tolling that signals death. Lots of death. The thin straw mattress crinkles beneath you as you sit up. Your small room above your father's bakery is cold, October chill, seeping through the shuttered window. You pull your woolen blanket tighter, not wanting to face what waits outside. The plague arrived in Bristol 3 weeks ago on a merchant ship from Bordeaux. At first, just rumors. A sailor found dead in his bunk, covered in strange swellings. Then another. Then people in the streets near the harbor. Now it's everywhere. Thomas, your father's voice from below. Strained with exhaustion, the ovens need tending. Life goes on. Even when death is all around, people still need bread. Perhaps now, more than ever, you dress quickly, in simple woolen clothes. Nothing like the silks of Constantinople or the fine tunics of Rome. The coarse fabric scratches against your skin as you splash water on your face from the basin by your bed. The water is ice cold, shocking you fully awake. Downstairs, the bakery is already warm from the ovens. Your father works the dough, his strong hands kneading with practiced motions. His face is haggarded with dark circles under his eyes. Neither of you has slept well since the plague came. Mrs. Cooper died in the night, he says without preamble, and the Chandler's entire family is sick. Mrs. Cooper, your neighbor for all your 17 years, the woman who used to sneak you sweet cakes when you were small. God rest her soul, you murmur, crossing yourself. Your father nods grimly. Take the fire poker and stoke the ovens. Then we need more water from the well in the town square, where people gather, where the disease spreads. You try to hide your fear, but your father sees it. We can't hide forever, son, he says more gently now. We need water to make bread. People need bread to live. Simple logic, impossible to argue with. But it doesn't calm the twisting in your gut. You take up the poker and work the bakery ovens, turning the loaves so they brown evenly. The familiar task is soothing, almost normal, almost. When the morning batch is done, you take 2 wooden buckets and head for the town square. Bristol is a different place than it was a month ago. The narrow streets, usually bustling with traders, craftsmen, and housewives going about their business, are eerily quiet. Those few people you do see hurry along with heads down, avoiding contact. Many carry posies of herbs, believing their fragrance will ward off disease. Others have cloths tied over their noses and mouths. What strikes you most is the doors, so many marked with large red crosses, the sign that plague has visited that household. Some doors are nailed shut from the outside, the occupants quarantined either to recover or die. The smell hits you next. Death has a smell, you've learned, sweet and rotten at once, like meat left too long in summer heat. It hangs over the city like an invisible fog. The town square is nearly deserted when you arrive. The well sits at its center, as it has for 100 years. Usually this would be a place of gossip and social life, with women drawing water while exchanging news, children playing nearby, men gathering to discuss business or politics. Now there's just an old man slumped against the stone well housing, his breath coming in ragged gasps. His neck is swollen on one side, with a blackish lump the size of a hen's egg bow, the unmistakable mark of the plague. You hesitate, buckets in hand. You need water. The man is clearly dying. What do you do? Don't worry, boy. The man croaks, seeing your hesitation. I won't touch the water. His awareness of his own contagion is somehow more heartbreaking than if he'd been delirious. Can I help you home, sir? You ask, though everything you've heard says to avoid the sick. He shakes his head weakly. No home left. Wife and daughters all gone. His rheumy eyes fix on you. Just wanted to die under the sky. Not locked inside. You don't know what to say to that. What can anyone say? So, you nod respectfully and go about your business, drawing water from the well. The rope feels rough against your palms. As you lower and raise the bucket, such an ordinary action in such extraordinary times. When both buckets are full, you look back at the old man. His eyes are closed now, his breathing shallow. He might already be dead. You should notify the death guard, but they're so overwhelmed they only come once a day now. I'm sorry, you whisper, though he can't hear you. Then you take your water and head back to the bakery. The streets seem even emptier on your return journey. Or maybe you're just more aware of the absence. Where are the dogs that usually roam the city? The cats, even the rats that infest the wharf district, seem to have vanished. Someone said they're dying too. Animals struck down alongside their human neighbors, though not the fleas. Apparently, the fleas are thriving. A flash of movement catches your eye, a procession turning onto the main street. Your heart sinks as you recognize what it is. The flagellants have come to Bristol. You've heard of these zealotsmen who travel from town to town, whipping themselves bloody in a public display of penance. They believe the plague is God's punishment for mankind's sins, and that their suffering might appease divine wrath. They march slowly down the street, bare-chested, despite the October chill. Each man whips his own back with a scourge of knotted ropes, their skin already raw and bleeding from previous flagellation. They chant Latin prayers as they walk, their voices rising and falling in eerie unison. Townspeople emerge from houses to watch, keeping their distance but drawn by the spectacle. Some weep openly, others fall to their knees in prayer. A few shout encouragement or join the chanting. You stand frozen, water buckets heavy in your hands. As the procession passes, the flagellants' eyes are fevered with religious ecstasy, or madness, or both. Their backs are a mess of torn flesh and dried blood, fresh wounds, weeping red onto the cobblestones. Is this what humanity has come to? Whipping ourselves in desperate hope of salvation. Back at the bakery, your father takes one look at your face and knows you've seen something disturbing. The flagellants? He guesses, taking one of the water buckets from you. You nod. Do you think it helps? The self-punishment? He sighed deeply, pouring water into the large mixing bowl. I think people will try anything when they're scared enough, even hurting themselves. What do you think it is? You ask the question that's been on everyone's mind. The plague? Is it God's wrath? Bad air? Poison in the wells? Your father's hands still in the dough? I don't know, Thomas. No one does. But I do know that standing around wondering won't feed anyone. Hand me that salt. The day proceeds with the familiar rhythm of the bakery. Mixing, kneading, shaping, baking. The physical labor keeps your mind occupied, away from darker thoughts. The heat of the ovens is welcome against the autumn chill. People come for bread, fewer than normal, but still a steady trickle. They leave coins in a bowl of vinegar, believed to cleanse the metal of contagion, and take their loaves with murmured thanks. No one lingers to chat as they once did. The bakery, once a social hub of the neighborhood, is now just a place of necessary business. As evening approaches, a new sound joins the death knell of church bells, the slow creak of wheels, and the doleful call, "Bring out your dead." The death cart makes its rounds at dusk now, collecting the day's victims. You and your father close the shutters, trying to block out the sound, but it seeps through anyway. The rumble of wooden wheels on cobblestones, the thud of bodies being loaded, the occasional sob of a survivor. Will it ever end? You ask quietly as you sit down to a simple supper of bread, cheese, and small beer. Your father doesn't answer immediately. When he does, his voice is tired, but steady. It will. All things do. The question is, who will be left to see it? That night, sleep eludes you. The death cart continues its rounds well past midnight. Somewhere nearby, a woman wails in grief or pain. The Phlegolants have set up in the town square. They're chanting, carrying through the night air. When you finally do drift off, your dreams are troubled. You're on a ship, watching rats pour from the hold, their bodies teeming with fleas. You're in a field of buboes that burst when touched, releasing not pus, but thousands of tiny black spiders. You're walking through Bristol, but everyone you pass turns to look at you with blackened, necrotic faces. You wake with a gasp, sweat-soaked despite the cool air. Dawn is breaking, pale light filtering through the shutters. Another day in plague-stricken Bristol begins, but something's wrong, different. Your body aches in a way that has nothing to do with yesterday's labor. Your head pounds, and there's a tenderness in your groin that sends a spike of pure terror through your heart. No, please God, no. With trembling fingers, you reach down, feeling through your linen nightclothes. There in the crease where thigh meets body, an unmistakable swelling. A boo. The plague mark. You've been struck for a moment. All you can do is lie there frozen in horror. The plague. You have the plague. The disease that's been emptying Bristol, house by house. The killer that takes 2 out of every 3 it touches. Father, you try to call, but your voice comes out as a croak. You clear your throat and try again. Louder. Father. Footsteps on the stairs. Then your father's concerned face appears in the doorway. Thomas, what is it? You can't say it, can't make the words come. Instead, you gesture weakly toward your groin. Understanding dawns in his eyes, followed quickly by a grief so profound it physically ages him. He crosses himself slowly. Are you certain? You nod, tears welling. I'm sorry, you whisper, though you've done nothing wrong, nothing to cause this. But that's the thing about the plague. It doesn't care if you're good or evil, pious or sinful, young or old. It takes indiscriminately a scythe cutting through humanity without pattern or purpose. Your father moves to your bedside, reaching for your hand, but you pull away. Don't. You warn. You'll catch it too. I've been living in the same house as you, breathing the same air, eating the same food, he says gently. If I'm to catch it, the deed is likely done. Still, he respects your wish, not touching you. What can I do? Shall I fetch a physician? Physicians with their bird-like masks filled with herbs, their useless remedies, their bloodletting and purges that seem to kill as often as they cure, and they charge a fortune, more than a baker can afford. No, you say, just water, please. I'm so thirsty. He brings water and a cool cloth for your forehead. The fever is rising fast, making the room swim before your eyes. The boo in your groin throbs with every heartbeat, a hot coal nestled against your flesh. We should tell Father Michael, your father says, naming the parish priest. He'll want to give last rites just in case. Just in case, a gentle way of saying, before you die. You nod weakly. Last rites seem like a good idea now. With death looming so close, you can practically feel its breath. Your father leaves to fetch the priest, and you're alone with your pain and fear. Outside, the sounds of Bristol continued, diminished, but persistent. The death bells, the occasional cart rumbling past, a dog barking, proof that some animals still live. Your mind wanders, the fever making your thoughts loop and tangle. You think of the old man by the well, waiting to die under the open sky. You think of Mrs. Cooper, who used to give you sweet cakes. You think of the Phlegolants, whipping their own flesh in desperate hope of salvation. And you think oddly of all the others throughout history who faced this moment, the terror of recognizing the plague's mark on your own body, the knowledge of what likely comes next. The plague in Athens, in Rome, in Constantinople, and now here in Bristol, in you. Time passes strangely when you're sick. It might be minutes or hours before your father returns with Father Michael. The priest is young, one of the few clerics who haven't fled the city or succumbed themselves. His face is gaunt with exhaustion. How many deathbeds has he attended these past weeks? Thomas. He greets you, his voice gentle. Your father tells me you're unwell. An understatement, if ever there was one. You try to smile, but it feels more like a grimace. The plague father. He nods gravely. I'll hear your confession if you wish. What sins does a 17-year-old baker's son have to confess? You've stolen food when hungry. You've had impure thoughts about the tanner's daughter. You've taken the Lord's name in vain. Small things, petty things. Do they matter now with death at your door? But you confess anyway. The familiar ritual, bringing a strange comfort. Father Michael listens, absolves, then administers last rites. The sacrament reserved for the dying. The holy oil feels cool against your fevered skin as he makes the sign of the cross on your forehead. May God in his mercy receive your soul. Father Michael concludes, his voice solemn but kind. Thank you, Father, you whisper. After the priest leaves, your father sits with you. He tries to get you to drink more water, to eat a little bread soaked in milk, but your throat is closing up, making swallowing difficult. The boo has grown larger, more painful, and now you've discovered others under your arm, on your neck. Your skin burns, but you can't stop shivering. Tell me a story, you ask suddenly, childlike, in your illness. Like when I was small, your father looks surprised, then sad, then resolute. Of course, he says, settling more comfortably on the stool beside your bed. Have I ever told you about how your grandfather came to Bristol? He hasn't. Or if he has, you don't remember. You shake your head slightly. He was a French baker from a little village near Paris. Your father begins. He came here during the troubles with King John, looking for a fresh start. The story washes over you, your father's familiar voice a comfort. Even as the plague works its way deeper into your body, you drift in and out, catching fragments. Your grandfather's journey across the channel, his struggle to establish himself in a foreign city, his marriage to your English grandmother. Night falls again. Your father lights a single candle, its flame casting long shadows across the small room. He's still talking, still telling family stories, though his voice has grown hoarser with the effort. The fever is so high now that the entire room seems to ripple and distort. The pain from the buboes is excruciating, like being stabbed with hot pokers from the inside. Your breathing comes in shallow gasps. This is it. You realize you're dying, like Mrs. Cooper, like the old man at the well, like thousands across Bristol, across England, across Europe. Father, you manage to whisper. He leans closer. I'm here, Thomas. I'm afraid. His face crumples, a lifetime of stoic strength, giving way to raw grief. I know, son. I know. But you're not alone. I'm right here with you. He takes your hand. Then, despite the risk, his palm is rough from years of labor, warm against your increasingly cold skin. Tell Mother I. But you can't finish the thought. Your mother dead in childbirth, with what would have been your sister. Is she waiting for you somewhere beyond? She knows. Your father says softly, She's always known. The room is growing dimmer, though the candle still burns. Your father's face blurs and doubles in your vision. The pain is receding now, replaced by a strange numbness that spreads from your extremities inward. Is this what death feels like? This gentle letting go? Your father is still talking, still holding your hand, but his words are indistinct now, underwater sounds that don't quite reach you. You try to squeeze his fingers to let him know you hear him, but you're not sure if your body responds. The darkness at the edges of your vision grows, encroaching on the candlelight. Your last thought is of bread. Oddly enough, the simple comfort of your father's bakery. The smell of it, yeasty and warm. The ritual of making it day after day life-sustaining. Then nothing. The plague that took you the Black Death will go on to kill somewhere between 30% and 60% of Europe's population. Approximately 50 million people will die across Asia, Africa, and Europe. Entire villages will be wiped out. Cities will be transformed. The social, economic, and religious fabric of medieval society will be torn apart and rewoven in the aftermath. But statistics can't capture what it was like to live through it, to wake with a boo and know what it means to watch your neighbors, friends, family sicken and die, to wonder if you'll be next, to face the most fundamental human fear, death multiplied across an entire continent. The Black Death will eventually recede, as all pandemics do, but it will return again and again in smaller outbreaks across Europe for centuries to come, and its impact will be felt long after the last victim is buried in art, in literature, in religion, in the very structure of society. This is what it meant to live and die during history's most notorious pandemic. Not just numbers in a history book, but individual lives, individual fears, individual losses. A baker's son in Bristol, a merchant in Constantinople, a soldier in Rome, a citizen in Athens, each with their own story, each facing the same enemy, each part of the long human struggle against disease that continues to this day. The darkness recedes. Your consciousness drifts untethered from time and place. Then slowly, you begin to solidify into a new existence. Your name is Sidley. You're a young healer's apprentice in Tenochtitlan, what the Spanish now call Mexico City. The year is 1545. You wake to the sound of coughing, harsh, wet coughing that makes your chest hurt just hearing it. Your mother, in the next room of your small adobe home,